In our headlines on this Tuesday afternoon, December 26th, here in South Korea. Speaking at a cabinet meeting earlier today, President Yoon Suk-yeol says the Korean economy is poised to see greater growth next year amid a rebound on the export front. And former Justice Minister Han Dong-hoon becomes the interim leader of the ruling People Power Party today, following the resignation of former Representative Kim Gi-hyun on December 13th. Over in the Middle East, Israel maintains its military offensive in Gaza amid projections that its mission against Hamas may last 2 more months at the very least. President Yoon Suk-yeol believes stronger exports will spur tangible economic growth in 2024. Remarks to this end were shared at a cabinet meeting earlier on this Tuesday at the Sejong government complex. Now, he also made note of this year's current account surplus, which is projected to post some $30 billion. And with regard to next year's fiscal plan, he called on the cabinet for a swift execution of the budget. He also reaffirmed his dedication to reforms in labor, pension and education, while highlighting similar initiatives in the medical arena. Former Justice Minister Han Dong-hoon is poised to become the interim leader of the ruling People Power Party today. His inauguration ceremony takes place at 3 p.m. at the party's headquarters in Yeouido. The ceremony follows a virtual National Committee meeting to vote on having Han lead the party's Emergency Steering Committee. Now, Han's nomination comes amid the resignation of former Representative Kim Gi-hyun on December 13th. Across the border, North Korea is scheduled to host a key policy direction meeting this week amid much international concern over its weapons ambitions. Our Park Gun-woo has more.
North Korea is expected to convene a key party meeting during this week to review policies for this year and set policy goals for 2024. That was reported back on December 1st by North Korea's state media, hinting that a plenary session of the Central Committee of the ruling Workers' Party will be held at the end of the month. The regime has this session at the end of each year, with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's participation since 2019 to review that year's state policies and set goals for the upcoming year. According to some experts, it is expected that during the session, the North will reaffirm its tough stance against the U.S. and South Korea while seeking to strengthen ties with China and Russia. A North Korea specialist said hostile messages to some countries are possibly expected from Kim.
I see no indications that he will strike a reconciliatory tone with either South Korea or the United States.
He added that if Kim chooses to speak about international relations, he may speak about its strong allies, including Russia and China, in order to emphasize the regime as strong friends and is not alone against South Korea and the U.S. But the expert also said there's a possibility that the North might focus on domestic issues rather than discussing international relations. Experts also think the North could be unveiling plans to strengthen its military capabilities, including the next spy satellite launch timeline, after it successfully launched a satellite this year.
So we might see a launch, for example, around the birth dates of Kim Jong-il in February or Kim Il-sung in April.
But the expert noted there are several factors, including technical, atmospheric, and other considerations that affect the exact launch dates. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
And in the Middle East, Israel is maintaining its military operation in Gaza amid projections that its mission against Hamas may last 2 more months at the very least. Our Lee Sing-jae has the latest.
Israel on Monday intensified its attack in Gaza, killing more than 100 people at the Maghazi refugee camp, with Palestinian authorities saying some 250 Palestinians have been killed over the past 24 hours. Christmas Eve in Gaza was also marred by heavy bombardments from the Israeli military in its continued fight against Hamas, which led to the leveling of buildings and injuries to over 500 people. With temperatures dropping and poor weather conditions, Palestinian refugees are struggling to keep themselves warm during the winter season. The New York Times reported on Sunday that frigid winter conditions combined with rain have left tents utterly useless, with many seen only with thin blankets to keep themselves warm. The Israeli Finance Ministry believes the armed conflict between its military and Hamas will last at least another 2 months. It said another $14 billion will be needed for security and other expenses for next year, meaning the near tripling of its budget deficit. However, the military's deputy budget commissioner raised the possibility that the conflict with the Palestinian militant group could stretch further, resulting in even more money being spent on the armed conflict. Meanwhile, according to the Wall Street Journal on Monday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said there are three prerequisites for peace: the elimination of Hamas, the demilitarization of Gaza, and the Palestinian society being de-radicalized. He said that in the process of achieving peace, Israel will continue to act in full compliance with international law. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And over at the Vatican, Pope Francis has called for peace in Gaza as well as on the Korean Peninsula through dialogue. Yoon covers his remarks.
On Christmas Day, from the main balcony of St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican, Pope Francis delivered his Urbi et Orbi blessing. Meaning to the city and the world, this annual speech typically offers a lament for all the misery in the world, and this year's edition was no different. Specifically for the Korean Peninsula, he expressed hope for efforts to foster lasting peace on the Korean Peninsula through dialogue and reconciliation at a time of heightened tensions due to tough rhetoric and recent missile launches by North Korea.
May the day draw near when fraternal bonds will be consolidated on the Korean Peninsula by undertaking processes of dialogue and reconciliation capable of creating the conditions for lasting peace.
Pope Francis has, on various occasions, called for peace on the Korean Peninsula. Earlier this year, to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the signing of the Korean Armistice Agreement, he sent a message calling on all Koreans to become prophets of peace. In his Urbi et Orbi blessing in 2018, he prayed that Christmas could consolidate the bonds of fraternity to unite the Korean Peninsula. For Israel and Palestine, Pope Francis prayed for the victims whose lives had been devastated by war and prayed for an end to the fueling of violence and hatred.
I plead for an end to the military operations with their appalling harvest of innocent civilian victims and call for a solution to the desperate humanitarian situation by an opening to the provision of humanitarian aid.
And for Ukraine, Pope Francis implored peace, calling on people to renew a spiritual and human closeness to feel what he referred to as the concrete reality of God's love. 이은진, Arirang News.
Japan is looking to boost its seafood exports to Korea and the European Union amid China's ban on Japanese seafood imports. Now, Kyodo News on Monday reported Tokyo is planning to promote sales of its scallops to neighboring Korea. In fact, the export goal over the next 2 years has been set at some $461 million, and the Korean market is expected to account for 6.3% of this amount. Just last year, China accounted for about half of Japan's total scallop exports. The proverb says an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, here in Korea, this proverb is proving very expensive to practice amid soaring prices of fruits. Our Kim Do-yeon has more.
It's not been easy for South Koreans to pick up their favorite fruits at grocery stores recently, with prices soaring.
We eat a lot of fruits, but I can't decide because they're too expensive.
In fact, strawberries are 20% more expensive than they were last December. Apples cost 21% more than last year, and mandarin oranges are up more than 10%. Experts say the climate is the biggest factor.
The temperatures were unusually low during the blossoming period. There was frost and hail with fungal disease during the harvests. The supply is lower than last year.
Due to the shortage in apples and pears, their prices are expected to remain high or even increase until the harvest season in July to August. As for strawberries and citrus fruits, since it is their peak shipping period, the prices are expected to decrease from their current level. However, their prices are still projected to remain slightly higher than last year.
Mandarin orange production isn't low, but because they're relatively cheaper than other fruits, consumers are turning to them instead, which is driving up the prices.
The government is tackling the situation with tax cuts on imported fruits like bananas, but it's not having a major effect due to reduced overseas shipments. However, more plans are in place to indirectly stabilize prices, including using 24.8 billion won or $19 million from this month's reserve funds to support discount events. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
In other news, artificial intelligence-enabled video surveillance is taking security and sales initiatives here in the country to the next level. Our business correspondent Shin Ha-young reports.
안전사고가 우려되오니 안전거리를 유지하여 주시길 바랍니다.
Suwon City in Gyeonggi-do Province has been putting efforts into crowd management using AI surveillance cameras after the deadly Itaewon crowd crush last year. When AI-powered surveillance cameras detect crowd numbers surpassing a certain level per unit area, they automatically send notifications to this control room.
AI cameras directly analyze on-site video instead of using a separate analysis system, making the process faster and cost-effective. During the recent Halloween, they detected a dense crowd on the street.
As technology advances, the role of surveillance cameras is expanding beyond simply recording. An AI surveillance camera from Hanwha Vision, South Korea's leading global vision solution company, uses a bat shot feature to detect various attributes such as age groups, gender, color of clothing, and even whether a person is wearing glasses. The collected data is used to extract information on specific situations, saving time, in this case, identifying a man in a red top. Its AI camera provides an immediate response to car accidents and monitors abnormal traffic flow. An AI thermal camera issues an alert when it detects abnormal temperatures in designated objects. By utilizing AI in cutting-edge devices, including a panoramic camera that uses a stitching technique for a wider view, it offers a comprehensive solution for various industries.
AI surveillance cameras can spot jaywalkers and give early warning to prevent accidents. They also analyze customer interests and peak hours in retail stores and cafes, offering useful business insights to store owners. To enhance security, all stored data is encrypted from the design stage and videos are stored separately in a so-called trust zone to resist hacking attempts.
Security is ensured not only during data processing, but also in certain situations where people are recognized only as shapes with objects visible behind them. The global video surveillance market is on a path of substantial expansion, with an expected valuation of over $62 billion in 2027, according to the global market research firm Statista. Aligned with advancements in AI for surveillance cameras, South Korea plans to replace all government-operated surveillance cameras with AI-equipped ones by 2027 to automatically monitor or detect emergencies around the clock. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
In Korea's southern island of Jeju-do, a cooperative-led foreign labor program has been receiving quite a bit of applause from both the local farmers there and overseas workers. Our Chung Won-ju tells us why.
A Vietnamese female worker harvests tangerines, quickly filling up the baskets. Once the baskets are filled, a male worker uses a cart to move them. The harvest of a 6,600 square meter tangerine field has been completed with the deployment of 4 foreign workers per day.
Without these Vietnamese workers, the labour issue is so severe that we'd have to give up farming. With previous foreign workers, they'd all gravitate towards the side offering more money, and there was a lot of hardship in working. But this year, we've managed our farming easily.
Introduced in November for the first time in the region, employees of the PFSW program are not directly employed by the farms. Instead, the National Agricultural Cooperative Federation, or Nonghyop, contracts the labor and assigns them to farms that apply for the program. The cooperative is responsible for overall operations, including providing shared accommodation for the workers and managing staff. After a month of operation, farms have reduced labor costs by up to 40,000 Korean won, or roughly $30 per person a day, alleviating a financial burden. Comparatively, the workers receive about 5 times more salary than in Vietnam and have shown high satisfaction as the program includes various support systems for adaptation, including activities related to hobbies and counseling. However, constructing exclusive accommodation for workers and securing management costs are necessary to expand the program.
Farms are requesting more labor, but it's difficult for us to accommodate and manage more than 50 workers ourselves. If the administration handles this, we could request even beyond 50 workers, up to 100.
The PFSW program is expanding nationwide from 23 locations this year to 70 next year. 3 locations in Jeju Island have applied. As the program has proven effective in coping with rural labor shortages, administrative and financial support is needed for its continuation. 정은주, Arirang News.
On local screens, the movie December 12, The Day has become the most viewed production this year. According to the film's distributor, Plus M Entertainment, the movie secured 10.7 million viewers as of this past Monday. Starring Hwang Jung-min and Chung Woo-sung, the plot traces the December 12 military coup of 1979, which led to the establishment of South Korea's Fifth Republic. It is the second movie this year to hit the 10 million milestone after the roundup No Way Out featuring Ma Dong-seok. Meanwhile, Seoul is offering those interested the chance to indulge firsthand in the country's traditional homes at public hanok lounges. Our Choi Soo-young was there.
Seoul is a place where tradition meets modernity. In Jongno-gu districts, Bukchon Hanok Village and Seochon Hanok Village, visitors can feel this distinct Korean vibe. And to allow visitors to see inside these traditional buildings, the villages have created public hanok lounges. In the lounge of this traditional Korean house, you can experience how such a building is set up within the outer walls and also get information about tourist attractions nearby. While strolling through Bukchon Hanok Village, you can take a short break at Bukchon Lounge, which is open to the public for free. Even without an overnight stay, it allows visitors to explore the hidden interiors of hanoks and to experience the warmth of hanok life, enjoying a Korean-style tea ceremony with delightful conversations.
And so, to be honest, we just kind of walked in, just like we're walking in all the different hanoks in this area. And this was an amazing, tea ceremony and a great kind of concierge service.
I think we like to go with the flow a lot, and sometimes it's like when you go with the flow when you travel, then you get lucky to experience and having a very unique experience. Yeah. And I think like this was definitely something that we will remember in our memories of Korea.
There is also a baggage storage service, and on Fridays, the lounges also offer a Korean language class. They are open from Tuesday to Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. While Bukchon Lounge introduces the tradition of hanoks, Seochon Lounge has a different charms, showing how hanoks can blend with modern lifestyles.
Here, not only Korean crafts but also Bauhaus-style furniture is on display, so people seem to be amazed and have fun thinking that, wow, the furniture can fit in a hanok like this way.
Visitors to Bukchon Lounge and Seochon Lounge can enjoy a delightful time sipping warm tea, experiencing the everyday life of Seoul's hanoks and learning about their values. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. In Russia, the imprisoned opposition politician Alexei Navalny has been tracked down and found at a penal colony north of the Arctic Circle. Navalny's whereabouts had been unknown for almost 3 weeks after he was transferred on December 6th from a previous prison. His spokesperson said that Navalny was found on the 25th of December and that he had been moved to IK3 penal colony in Karp in the Yamalo-Nenets Autonomous District of Western Siberia, about 2,000 kilometers northeast of Moscow. Alexei Navalny has been considered one of Russian President Vladimir Putin's leading opponents and has been imprisoned since 2021. Navalny was expected to be transferred to a special regime colony after receiving an additional sentence of 19 years in August for charges including extremist activities, on top of the 11.5 years he was already serving. Turkey's defense ministry on Monday said that at least 26 Kurdish militants had been killed in strikes by its air force in Syria and northern Iraq. The attack followed the killing of 12 Turkish soldiers in northern Iraq on Saturday in a battle with the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party. The Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces also announced on Monday that at least 8 civilians were killed in the strikes, including 2 women, in northeast Syria. Ankara's defense minister said on Sunday that 30 Kurdistan Workers' Party had been neutralized in northern Iraq following cross-border operations, bringing the total number of PKK militants killed since the weekend to 56. The Kurdistan Workers' Party is designated a terrorist group by Turkey and the US and the European Union. On Sunday, British billionaire Jim Ratcliffe announced his acquisition of 25% of the English Premier League football club, Manchester United. The 71-year-old owner of petrochemical giant Ineos has paid around $1.3 billion for the 25% of the shares. That gives him control of football operations and a say in the commercial side of the club. But the American Glazer family will keep their majority stake. As part of the deal, Ratcliffe has agreed to provide around $300 million in infrastructure investment for United's Old Trafford Stadium. In China, Beijing has recorded its longest cold wave since records began in 1951. According to state-run media, one Beijing weather observatory said that since the temperature first dropped to below 0 degrees on December 11th, it remained so for more than 300 hours. Temperatures in the city frequently fell below minus 10 degrees Celsius this month, while in parts of China's north and northeast, temperatures as low as minus 40 degrees were recorded. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Hello, I'm Lee Ji-hyun with the latest weather updates. It's about time we got some relief from the bitter blast of cold air. I mean, it was just too cold last week with on and off snow. After much bearable morning temperatures, afternoon highs will also hover around norms today and for most of this week. Meanwhile, ultrafine dust levels will be high in many western parts of the country during the day, with a dry advisory in place for many of the east coast regions. Meanwhile, mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province are under a strong wind advisory, so extra fire precautionary measures are a must around this time. Daily highs should be 4 to 5 degrees higher in most places. Seoul topping out at 7 degrees, Daejeon at 9 degrees this afternoon under partly sunny skies. Then we can expect calmer weather for the New Year's holiday weekend. Temperatures should stay well above seasonal averages through New Year's Day, but air quality will be bad for most of this week. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
And those are the headlines at the Seoul here in Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session. Do stay with us.